Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever wondered why a man suddenly pulls away, why his interest fades, or why he stops treating you like the prize you are, listen closely. It's not your beauty, not your personality, not your worth that makes him lose value for you. It's the silent, invisible habits you don't even realize you're doing. And today I'm going to expose the 4 hidden things that quietly destroy your power in front of a man, the very things that make you look replaceable when you're anything but. If you want to flip the script, reclaim your value, and become unforgettable in the eyes of any man you meet, stay right here. This is where everything changes. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is one truth that stands unshaken in the world of relationships, it's this. Your value is not something given to you by someone else. It's something you embody, something you live, something you protect. Yet far too often, without even realizing it, people hand away their value piece by piece in front of someone they like. And when it comes to a man you care about, those small moments can make the biggest difference. Today is about reclaiming every part of yourself that you've ever pushed aside, watered down, or hidden just to keep someone interested. Because the person you become when you abandon your value is never the person who gets the love you truly want. The first thing that destroys your value is abandoning your standards the moment you feel a connection. It's easy to stick to your boundaries when you don't care about someone, but the real test is when your heart is invested. The moment you start letting things slide, disrespect, inconsistency, laziness, mixed signals, you send a message that says, "I'll take whatever I can get." And that message is lethal. You see, attraction may pull 2 people together, but respect is what keeps a relationship alive. When you show that you're willing to compromise who you are just to keep someone around, you're not gaining love, you're losing yourself. A high-value person doesn't ask others to meet unrealistic standards, but they do expect reciprocity, effort, honesty, and respect. And when someone sees that you stand firm even when your feelings are involved, that's when they realize you're someone they can't afford to lose. The second thing that kills your value is over-investing before it's earned. You know this moment. You meet someone, you feel chemistry, you feel potential, and suddenly your mind is 10 steps into the future. You start giving too much of your time, your attention, your emotional energy. You start rearranging your schedule, saying yes to things you don't want, giving reassurance before it's needed, and acting like you're already in a committed relationship when the other person hasn't put anything on the table yet. When you overinvest early, you create an imbalance. You communicate that your time and affection are available at a discount. And the truth is, people do not value what they do not work for. People do not cherish what comes too easily. When someone sees you giving 100% while they're giving 20%, they don't think, "Wow, this person is incredible." They think, "I don't have to do anything here." Hold back your investment until you see them showing up consistently. Let the effort be mutual, not one-sided. Love becomes powerful when it's a shared journey, not a rescue mission. The third thing that kills your value is losing your emotional independence. When your mood depends on how he texts, how he behaves, what he says, or whether he gives you enough attention, you put your happiness in someone else's pocket. Nothing is more attractive than a person who is emotionally centered, someone who feels deeply but doesn't crumble when something wobbles, a person who values connection but doesn't break when someone pulls away. Emotional independence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you can love without losing your balance. It means you can miss someone without losing yourself. It means you can want someone but not need their validation to feel worthy. When you become emotionally dependent, everything becomes a chase. You chase reassurance, chase validation, chase clarity. But when you are emotionally grounded, you don't chase, you choose. You choose based on who enriches your life, not who temporarily fills a void. And that energy shifts everything. It draws in the right people and filters out the wrong ones. The fourth thing that kills your value is trying too hard to be chosen. We live in a world where so many people believe the path to love is through performance, being perfect, being agreeable, never causing conflict, never expressing needs, and in that process, they slowly disappear. The most magnetic people are the ones who show up as themselves, unapologetically. They're not trying to earn love, They're sharing who they are. They're not performing, they're expressing. They're not bending over backwards to be liked. They're giving someone the chance to get to know their real personality, quirks, humor, opinions, and passions. Trying too hard makes you forget that you are the one who should also be evaluating, also choosing, also deciding if this person fits into your life. You are not auditioning. You are interviewing. You're not standing in a line hoping to be picked. You're standing in your truth, assessing whether this connection enriches your world. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing, your entire presence becomes more valuable. And here's the beautiful twist. Your value doesn't increase when someone finally sees it. Your value increases when you stop lowering it, when you stop shrinking to fit, when you stop chasing, when you stop tolerating crumbs, when you stop overgiving, when you stop abandoning your standards, when you stop apologizing for wanting respect, consistency, and clarity, when you start treating yourself the way you want someone else to treat you. Because the way you treat yourself is the script you hand others. If you treat yourself like an afterthought, others will too. If you treat yourself like a priority, others learn to follow your lead. Think of the relationships you've had in your life. Think of the moments you felt undervalued, unseen, unappreciated. In so many of those moments, the problem wasn't that you weren't enough. It was that you forgot to act like you were enough. You allowed someone else's behavior to dictate your worth. But the moment you decide that you are not someone who waits around for clarity, not someone who accepts inconsistency, not someone who over-explains their needs, not someone who abandons themselves to keep someone else comfortable, that is the moment everything shifts. Because people take cues from you. They treat you how you allow them to. They show up based on the standard you set. And the moment you raise that standard, the entire dynamic changes. Powerful connections aren't about being the most beautiful, the most charming, the most impressive person in the room. They're about being aligned. They're about being authentic. They're about being someone who brings value simply by staying true to who they are. You don't need to change yourself for someone to want you. You need to be more of who you are, with confidence, with conviction, with faith that the right person will meet you at the level you stand, not the level you lower yourself to. So protect your value with everything you have, not out of fear, but out of respect for the person you are becoming and the love you know you deserve. And when you begin to protect your value in this way, something remarkable happens. You stop operating from fear. You stop walking on eggshells, worrying about whether you're doing too much or too little, whether you're saying the right thing or the wrong thing, whether you're moving too fast or too slow. Instead, you begin to operate from a sense of inner certainty. You start moving with the belief that the right connection will never require you to negotiate your worth. The right person will never make you feel foolish for having standards, for expressing needs, or for wanting consistency. That sense of certainty isn't arrogance, it's self-awareness. It's the deep knowing that you bring value simply by being someone who lives with integrity, depth, and intention. And when you live from that place, the entire dynamic with men transforms. You start to notice things you previously ignored. You begin to recognize when someone's words don't match their actions. You begin to see when someone is offering attention but not commitment, interest but not effort, chemistry but not consistency. And instead of convincing yourself to stay, you quietly step back. You give space. You let them reveal who they truly are without trying to shape the outcome. Because you've learned that when someone really sees your value, you won't have to chase them, fix them, or remind them. They will show up with clarity. They will show up with intention. They will show up with effort. And when they don't, you won't cling. You'll walk away with grace because you now understand that your life is too precious to be spent in emotional limbo. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop being afraid of losing someone. When you stop living in fear, you finally become magnetic. Your confidence becomes unshakable, and not the loud kind of confidence, just a calm, grounded presence that says, I know what I bring, I know what I deserve. People feel that energy. Men feel that energy. It's not the type of energy that demands attention. It naturally draws it in. It's the energy of someone who likes a person, but doesn't cling to them, who desires connection but doesn't fear being alone, who appreciates effort but doesn't beg for it. That balance creates a presence that is unforgettable. And this shift doesn't come from pretending. It doesn't come from playing games or manipulating outcomes. It comes from doing the work on yourself. It comes from knowing your triggers, knowing your patterns, understanding your attachment style, understanding what you need to feel safe, loved, and respected. It comes from healing the part of you that thinks love must be earned through self-sacrifice, silence, or pleasing someone at the cost of your own sanity. When you heal that part of yourself, you stop confusing chaos with chemistry. You stop thinking inconsistency is passion. You stop mistaking unpredictability for depth. You stop interpreting emotional highs and lows as proof of something real. Instead, you begin to crave stability, mutual effort, and genuine connection, not because it's easy, but because it's healthy. And when you start valuing emotional health, your whole approach to dating changes. You stop tolerating mixed signals disguised as emotional complexity. You stop entertaining men who only show up when it's convenient. You stop excusing behavior that leaves you anxious, confused, or doubting yourself. You realize that the right connection shouldn't drain you, it should expand you. The right person shouldn't diminish your self-esteem, they should elevate it. The right relationship shouldn't feel like a test. You shouldn't have to audition to be loved. And when you carry that understanding into every interaction, you become someone who is no longer impressed by the bare minimum. You become someone who recognizes that love is not proven through suffering. Your heart becomes wiser, your standards become clearer, and your value becomes unmistakably visible. But here's something people rarely talk about. When you begin stepping into this stronger version of yourself, not everyone will celebrate it. Some men will pull away because they can no longer take advantage of your kindness, your patience, or your overgiving nature. Some will disappear because they realize they can no longer get effort from you without giving effort in return. Some will get intimidated, not because you're too much, but because you no longer settle for too little. And in those moments, you will feel tempted to shrink again, to soften your boundaries, to make yourself easier to handle. But you must resist that temptation. Their departure is not a sign that you're hard to love. It's a sign that they were not ready to love you in the way you deserve. And the beauty is, the more you honor yourself, the more aligned you become with people who meet you at your level. People whose consistency doesn't come with conditions. People who communicate because they want to build something real. People who don't disappear when things get emotionally intimate. People who feel safe to love and safe to be loved. When you protect your value, you stop attracting chaos and you start attracting readiness. You stop attracting potential and start attracting intention. You stop attracting men who love access to you and start attracting men who love connection with you. But that shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes self-awareness. It takes saying no when your heart wants to say yes. It takes choosing your future over your impulses. It takes choosing your mental peace over temporary excitement. It takes choosing alignment over attachment. It takes looking at a man you really like and saying, if this isn't healthy, I'm willing to step away. That is strength. That is value. That is the version of you who enters a relationship not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone who chooses with clarity, intention, and self-respect. And when you live from that place, something even more extraordinary happens. You start becoming more yourself than ever before. You stop censoring your personality. You stop hiding your emotions out of fear of looking needy. You stop pretending you're okay with things that don't sit right in your soul. You stop diluting your joy, your humor, your presence, your opinions. You stop turning down your light so someone else doesn't feel overwhelmed. You allow yourself to be seen, not the curated version, not the perfect version, but the real, bold, beautifully authentic version. And that version of you is magnetic beyond measure. Because true value is not in perfection. It's in authenticity. It's in being unafraid to walk away. It's in being emotionally grounded. It's in keeping standards that reflect your self-worth. It's in showing care without losing yourself in the process. That combination is rare. That combination is powerful. And when you embody it fully, you become someone unforgettable, not because you tried to be, but because you refuse to be anything less than who you truly are. And as you step deeper into this version of yourself, You begin to notice a shift, not just in your relationships, but in every part of your life. You feel more grounded, more present, more deliberate. You're no longer rushing into connections with the fear that someone better might not come along. You're no longer operating from scarcity, thinking this one person is your only chance at something meaningful. Instead, you stand in a place of abundance, a place where you trust that the right connection won't require you to bend into shapes that exhaust you, a place where you trust that love, when it's real, will meet you with the same energy you offer, a place where you trust that your value is not dependent on whether someone chooses you, but on how authentically you choose yourself. This is where the magic begins, because something shifts in the way you communicate. You begin to express yourself clearly, calmly, and confidently, without the tremble of insecurity you once carried. If something bothers you, you say it, not with accusation, but with honesty. If you need space, you ask for it without guilt. If you need clarity, you request it without fear of pushing someone away. Your voice becomes steady. Your presence becomes secure. And men feel that difference immediately. You're no longer trying to manage their emotions, predict their reactions, or sugarcoat your truth to keep the peace. Peace becomes your foundation, not something you sacrifice for companionship. And when you start communicating like this, you quickly learn who can rise to meet you. The ones who are emotionally mature will lean in with openness. They will appreciate your directness. They will admire your courage. But the ones who are only comfortable when you're shrinking will find this version of you challenging. Not because you're difficult, but because you've become a mirror to their lack of effort. And that's a powerful truth to understand. Your growth will naturally disrupt the people who benefited from your old patterns. But don't let that intimidate you. Don't let it make you second-guess your evolution. Instead, let it affirm that you're outgrowing dynamics that were rooted in uneven emotional investment. You're stepping into a life where the relationships you attract match the love you're capable of giving, where the connections you form are built on mutual respect and emotional richness, where you no longer lose yourself trying to make someone stay. And the more you live in this truth, the more you realize how much emotional energy you once poured into people who only offered you fragments. You start to see the moments you chased validation because you were afraid of being abandoned. You see the choices you made from loneliness rather than alignment. You see the times you tolerated confusion because you confused unpredictability with passion. And instead of judging yourself for it, you begin to understand that every version of you was doing the best they could with the knowledge they had. Now, you're simply choosing differently. You're choosing with clarity instead of fear. You're choosing with confidence instead of desperation. You're choosing with self-respect instead of longing for approval. And this shift is not just empowering, it's liberating. You begin to realize you're no longer attracted to the same things you used to tolerate. Chaos loses its charm. Emotional unavailability loses its mystery. The hot and cold dynamic that once felt addictive now feels exhausting. The crumbs of affection that once made you excited now feel insulting. You crave something deeper, something stable, something aligned, not because you're demanding too much, but because you finally understand the baseline of what you deserve. And in that understanding, you develop a new kind of patience, not the kind where you wait around hoping someone will change, but the kind where you wait for someone who is already aligned with what you want, someone who doesn't make you question your place in their life, someone who brings clarity instead of confusion, someone who adds peace instead of anxiety, someone whose effort is consistent, not just at the beginning, not just when they fear losing you, but always. But this patience doesn't feel like waiting. It feels like honoring yourself. It feels like choosing your emotional well-being. It feels like finally stepping into the life and love you once doubted you could have. And the best part, you start to enjoy your own company in a way you never have before. You realize that solitude isn't a threat. It's a sanctuary. It's the place where you recharge, where you reconnect with yourself, where you build your future, where you nurture your passions. And from that place of inner fulfillment, you approach dating not with fear, but with curiosity, not with pressure, but with confidence, not with need, but with intentionality. And that intentionality radiates from you. People feel it before you even speak. There's something captivating about someone who doesn't idolize another person, someone who doesn't pedestalize a connection, someone who doesn't crumble at the first sign of emotional turbulence. You become the person who remains steady even when emotions get intense. You stay grounded, not because you suppress your feelings, but because you understand them. You're not afraid to be vulnerable, but you're also not afraid to protect your heart when necessary. This steadiness creates an energy that's impossible to ignore. You become someone who is both soft and strong, someone who can care deeply without losing themselves, someone who can love wholeheartedly without abandoning their standards, someone who doesn't fear walking away from anything that doesn't align with their peace. And that level of alignment transforms you from someone hoping to be valued into someone who naturally commands respect. And as you grow, you'll find yourself encountering moments that test your new strength. Someone might return from your past expecting the version of you who once settled. Someone new might try to charm their way into your life with inconsistency wrapped in sweet words. Someone might give you attention but not commitment. But this time, you don't get pulled in so easily. This time, you see the pattern before it traps you. This time, you recognize the difference between effort and convenience. This time, you realize you don't need to give everyone access to you just because they want it. This time, you choose with discernment. You choose with intentionality. You choose with the awareness that your energy is a gift, not a default setting. Your attention is valuable. Your time is precious. Your love is meaningful. And you don't offer those things freely to people who treat them casually. You've learned that your presence is a privilege, not something to be taken for granted. And the right man will know that. He will feel that. He will treat that with care. Because now, you're not just protecting your value, you're embodying it.